Hello everyone, and welcome to this, my latest Doctor Who DVD collection update, review, overview and all the rest of it. And I'll be going over the 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, as well as talking briefly about Paul McGann and the TV movie, plus sort of miscellaneous DVDs that I've collected here. So this is the last sort of main part of the classic era. And what do I think of the 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy? Well, let's get started. So we begin with Sylvester McCoy with season 24, and his very first story is this one here, Time and the Rani. Now, what do I think of Time and the Rani? Well, first of all, I quite like the idea at the beginning with the whole sort of Doctor having amnesia and not being able to recognise Mel, and the Rani impersonating Mel and the Doctor believing everything she says. The Rani, again, a little bit like in the story here, the Mark of the Rani, she doesn't really do very much, to be fair. It's quite an average story, to be honest. There's some good parts with the Doctor himself during his regeneration and everything, but other than that, I'd give it maybe a 5 out of 10. I find it quite an average story overall. But we have a much better story here, Paradise Towers, which features Richard Briers, who you may know from A Good Life, or The Good Life, I should say. Now, Paradise Towers is quite a strange, wacky sort of story, but personally, I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was quite fun. The Doctor's much better in this one, although it does have Mel as his companion still. She just irritates the hell out of me. But to be fair, Paradise Towers is a pretty good story. It's not one of the best in the Doctor Who canon, but it's definitely enjoyable. I give it probably a 7 out of 10. And then we have the next story, Delta and the Bannermen. Quite a sort of bizarre story set on a sort of holiday camp, really. But it does feature the late, great Ken Dodd, so what's not to like about it? He features in that at the beginning. There is a weird part featuring two characters who have absolutely really nothing to do with the plot or the sort of finale of the story or anything like that, which was a bit of a weird one. But again, this one's quite fun. I quite enjoy it. I'd probably give it a 6. It's okay. Give it a 6 out of 10. Really like that cover though. Really interesting cover. And then we have Dragonfire as the close to season 24, which introduces, as you can see, Ace and the departure of Mel. Thank God. Ace I really like actually as a companion. I think she's really good. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it with her as the companion. I thought she might be a little bit too annoying, but actually she's pretty good. She definitely finds her feet towards the end of the 7th Doctor's run. But yeah, Dragonfire is pretty good. It's okay. Literally a cliffhanger in this one. A bit bizarre. Never really explains how the Doctor sort of got rescued from there. Well, we kind of get it explained in the New Who series with Matt Smith in a sense. But yeah, Dragonfire, yeah, it's okay. Again, 6 out of 10. And now to season 25 with Remembrance of the Daleks Special Edition. I'm going to say this now, 9 out of 10. Not quite a 10 out of 10 for me, but I've got to say Remembrance of the Daleks is a classic. It's a fantastic story, jam-packed with action. Yes, the Daleks can walk upstairs. It is amazing. It is a revelation, but they can, and I think the way they've done it is quite well. And to be honest, I think Remembrance of the Daleks has some great cliffhangers. Ace is really good in this. The story is compelling. It goes through really quickly. And this was the 25th, I believe, 25th anniversary season as well. So yeah, this kind of is sort of seen as the 25th anniversary story. And it's great. The Daleks are good in this, really menacing and back to being sort of back at their best kind of thing. So yeah, Remembrance of the Daleks, I've got to give that one a 9 out of 10. Really, really good. And the Doctor is a little bit more dark in this series, and he progresses to get even more sort of dark, and you start to sort of question the motives of the Doctor. That is he actually a good guy? We've always just accepted that the Doctor is there to bring peace and try to do his best to save all the different planets in the galaxy and everything, but here his motives are kind of questioned, which is something that they would sort of touch on more in New Who. But yeah, Remembrance of the Daleks, absolutely fantastic. The next one is the Happiness Patrol. Again, a little bit like Time of the Rani, there are elements that are okay in this story, with the sort of Bertie Bassett character there, whose sort of only flaw is that if you put hot water on the ground, he'll become sticky and will stick to the floor. So, not a particularly menacing villain, it has to be said. It's quite a forgettable story, really. I'd say it's average. I give it a 5 out of 10. And now we come to the actual official anniversary story, which was a Cyberman story, Silver Nemesis. Now, I haven't seen The Wheel in Space, but it's Patrick Troughton, so it's unlikely to be my least favourite Cyberman story. So for that, in the classic era, Silver Nemesis is definitely my least favourite Cyberman story. I just find it's not bad. I give it a 5 out of 10. It is average, but there is a lot going on, and for that it's quite interesting. But it just didn't hold my attention very well, and for a 25th anniversary story, which is what it was meant to be, it's just nowhere near as good as something as Remembrance of the Daleks, which is probably why people tend to think of that as this anniversary story rather than the Silver Nemesis. But yeah, Silver Nemesis is not bad, but it's not great. So just before we come to season 26, which is the best season for Sylvester McCoy and a really strong season, we end season 25 with The Greatest Show in the Galaxy. What a great story this is. Absolutely love this. Very creepy. The clown is weird and it's very suspenseful, and it's got a lot going on. Ace is great in this. The Doctor's great in this. There's a really funny cliffhanger with a sort of wolf lady, and the Doctor's reaction to it, it makes me laugh every time. I find it so funny, but in a good way, not in a sort of time lash kind of funny because it's so bad. This is genuinely funny, and the way the Doctor walks off out of the tent as it explodes and he doesn't even flinch. Oh, what a badass. Yeah, this is a really great story. Really love this one. You kind of got to watch it to sort of understand what's going on, but strange things are happening, and it's really great. I give this one an absolute solid 8 out of 10. And then we have Battlefield and the return of the Brigadier. Wonderful. The Brigadier is in this story, so what's not to love, really? Battlefield is quite a strange story, not the sort of story that I would usually sort of enjoy, but this one was really good. The Doctor was really good in this. Ace was good in this. A lot of action. Unit return, and of course the Brigadier as well, which was great. The Brigadier hadn't been in Colin Baker's era. The last story I think he appeared in was actually Mordrin Undead, which of course was the Black Guardian trilogy, so it had been quite a long time since the Brigadier had featured in a classic Who story. But yeah, Battlefield is pretty good. I'd probably give this one, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. Now, the Unexplained Ghostlight. Purely for entertainment value, purely for the enjoyment of what it is, I actually really enjoyed Ghostlight. I can't give it any more than a 7 out of 10, purely because there is no real explanation as to what the hell's going on. But the Doctor, again, is very dark in this. It's actually genuinely quite creepy, this story. And I just really like both Ace and the Doctor in this one again. Sylvester McCoy just kept sort of surprising me. I really didn't think I was going to have much interest in his era. I thought it was the sort of end of Doctor Who in its classic form after the sort of mishmash of Colin Baker's era. But I've got to say, I really enjoyed Ghostlight for what it was. Very creepy. The Doctor is getting darker and darker, and you're starting to realise that maybe he isn't quite the man we thought he was. And now we come to this piece of absolute rubbish, the Curse of Fenric. Absolutely not. I jest. I love the Curse of Fenric. 10 out of 10. It's the first 10 out of 10 I've given to a Doctor Who story since, I think, Sharda? Yeah, Yeah, I mean, Caves of Androzani, I gave an 8.5, but I would probably boost that up to a 9, having rewatched it. Earthshock was a 9. So yes, I haven't given a 10 out of 10 since the Tom Baker era, and that's saying something. The Curse of Fenric is the best story for me from the 80s. It's just got everything I love. It's got monsters, it's got fantastic villains, really good cast. It's very creepy, very claustrophobic. The Doctor is so dark. The scene at the end with Ace, where he basically tries to manipulate her into basically hating him and saying these awful things to her and everything in order to really save them, is fantastic. And it's just beautifully paced. I give it a 10 out of 10. Both versions, the sort of feature-length version as well as the individual episodes as it was originally broadcast. The Curse of Fenric is absolutely spectacular, and it really made me appreciate the Seventh Doctor a hell of a lot more after seeing this story. I absolutely love it. Fantastic stuff there. And the final story, the final classic adventure, Survival. Interesting, sort of delves into Ace quite a bit here, and more the Doctor's sort of loyalty. It's also got the Master in it, and there's a fantastic scene between the Doctor and the Master where he shouts, if we fight like animals, we'll die like animals, and just love that scene. But as a story overall, it's quite interesting. The cat people is a bit weird, but I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. It's definitely not the best. It's a nice way to end the classic era, although it wasn't intended that this was going to be the last ever story. But I quite enjoyed it, I got to say, and I give it a 7 out of 10. Yeah, Sylvester McCoy's era doesn't quite end with the TV series. Of course, he does appear in this, the movie. He actually appears in it for quite a bit, as he's regenerating into the 8th Doctor, Paul McGann. Now, what do I think of the movie itself? Very average. I give it a 5 out of 10. I think it's very average. For a TV movie, you were expecting a sort of much sort of grander story. At least I was much more a sort of grandiose kind of plot. You know, maybe some sort of war between the Daleks or something, or the Daleks taking over Earth and everything, or Cyberman story or something like that. It was more of a sort of strange a love story in a sense, and a Master story, but the Master isn't very good in this. Paul McGann is pretty good, I've got to say. I do like Paul McGann in this, and from what I've seen of him in the I've forgotten what it is, but for the 50th anniversary he appears for a very brief segment, and he's very good in that, and also from what I've heard he's very good in the Big Finish audios. But the TV movie was a little bit of a disappointment for me. Very average. Wasn't pretty much what I was expecting. It was very Americanized and didn't really feel like a Doctor Who episode really for me, be it a feature-length special. So yeah, I give that a 5 out of 10. And then we've got this, K9 and Company, A Girl's Best Friend, starring Sarah Jane. Never watched it, not going to. Then we've got this fantastic documentary, More Than 30 Years in the TARDIS. Absolutely spectacular, essential documentary to have, very informative, a lot of great stuff in there. I would definitely give that a watch. Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think I've showcased this, the Lost in Time box set, which features missing episodes from the Hartnell and Troughton era. Absolutely essential. Then we've got the classic original release of The Enemy of the World, because I've now got the special edition. The original edition of Inferno, the original edition of Carnival of Monsters, as well as the Talons of Weng Chiang, and the original release of Shada, because I have again the special edition for that. So that is it. So what do I give the Sylvester McCoy era? Overall, I think I'll give him a strong 7, maybe an 8 out of 10 for his era, because I did really enjoy so many stories. I mean, series or season 25 and 26 were really, really good. I mean, this gem here was absolutely spectacular. Loved the Curse of Fenric so much. Great story. And Remembrance of the Daleks again is really good. And considering his era was not that much longer than Colin Baker's, there were some really cracking gems in there and some genuine classics as well. Like I said, the movie was a little bit average for me, but that is it. That is now the end of the classic era. So I have at last gone through all of the original classic Doctors from 1963 up to 1989. So it was quite a ride, wasn't it? My arms hurt. So yeah, I hope it's been worth it. So this is all of the classic DVDs, as you can see here. I've really enjoyed doing it, but next it will be the New Who series that I will go over, and I'll be discussing the stories and what I think of them and what I think of the Doctors, much the same vein as these videos. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget, like, subscribe, share and comment, and I will see you folks on the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.